What's up, YouTube? Here we are, episode I think 2 with our little V6 swap MIATA. So far, where I left you off from the last time is we completed our subframe, and today what we're going to get into is sort of cleaning up the engine bay a little bit more, getting things out of the way, and getting ready to chop our firewall. So basically, what we're going to do for this part, getting all these fuel and brake lines out of the way, as well as the cable right here for the fuse box. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut along this line right here of the frame. We're going to follow this all the way, cut it up to here like this, and then on this side we're going to sort of do the same. Instead of right here, we're going to cut right here next to our steering shaft. And then for our firewall, so we'll end up doing a cut like this and a cut like this for the firewall on both sides. But a good thing to do if you're following along doing exactly what this is, if you get a T5, the bell housing to the T5 can unbolt itself to the transmission. So it's just 4 bolts, one here and then one down here. I doubt you can see it, but and then the same ones on the other side right here and on the bottom down there. And you can just take the housing off and sort of measure it up that way, just so you can get some measurements, so you don't have to do exactly what I do. But I'm going to be trying to put in a whole lot of extra space and room, so that if I ever once again need to take the transmission off, I can just unbolt it, sort of lean the engine back a little bit and loosen these 2 top bolts that seem to be a problem all the time. So if I ever need to do swap my clutch out or something like that and get a better clutch, it won't be too difficult to do. What I'm going to do now is probably make room in here too, and I'll let y'all know. Alrighty, so this is what I mean. This is the stud on the other side. It's just used to hold this sort of cable mount, so I'm not too worried if we lose it. But I like to use that as a good reference so we don't cut too deep, because I'm worried about this part right here. This lined up. I got this in, and this is what I mean. So you can see, I don't know if I'm gonna cut this or I'm gonna cut this less. So I'm trying to see what can be a happy medium so that I can still use my air conditioning unit. Right, so these are our preliminary cuts. Now you can just leave this like this, but I highly do not recommend that. I just ordered some frame reinforcements from V8 Roadster, and they're just some plates like this. You can make them yourself, but I don't have that thicker gauge of metal on me right now, and it's only 26 bucks for both, so that's not that bad. But once those come in, we'll just have to reinforce this right here. And then I went ahead and etched out where we're going to cut. You can measure it up with these wrinkles in the firewall. And then, like I said, you need to cut it just underneath this stud right here. I'm gonna go ahead and get to cutting here in a second. Alright. There's really no going back after this. Either get it done or you catch a car on fire. But I decided not to go this high. if you don't already know, I'm following the forum on, I think it is MIATA.net. I think it was posted by Wow, W-O-W. He's the one that sort of just followed this crease, this natural crease in the body. I think I'm gonna do that for now, and if I need to take off more, I can follow this all the way up to this higher line, because I do have a T5 from a Mustang, and those top bolts are pretty nasty to get if you're ever gonna try and do a clutch change on this ever. So I might do that after I cut all this out, but I did mess up. I did went all the way out here. I was supposed to make a sort of an angle cut right here, but I mean, that's fine. I can just sand this down, re-weld it. Now what's next? I'm gonna take this line, take it all the way back to this natural crease right here, and then I'm gonna just cut out at this crease all the way around, and then I'm gonna also follow this line to the crease. All right, I'll get back to y'all once I get that done. Alright, so this is what I came up with. As you can see, one side is longer than the other, but that's just how it's going to be. It's not the most accurate way to do it, but I came up with these 6 pieces or 5 pieces by themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I came up with each one by itself. What I first did was I cut this part, then I cut this part, cut them out of 16 gauge steel, put them in there, as I probably already went over. Then I bent in the corners, these corners right here, that one, and hammered it in this way, hammered it in this way to create more space like this, as well as the other way, as well as the other side. Then next, what I made was the top. Made the top so I could fit in the trans, fit in my air conditioning unit. Then I cut out these 2 sections, and you are going to come out with gaps. You can see a gap right here through the tape or the cardboard. It was the same thing that came out with the metal, but this is just how it's going to be to do it this way. You could technically cut one piece out like this. It probably will be stronger, but it will definitely be harder to fit up. It'll be harder to put into place, and it'll be harder to weld, because you'll have to drastically massage that one piece of metal into place. So this is what I did. You can do it differently, but as long as you come out with an entire trans tunnel covered in all, that's the goal. That's how it should be. As you can see, we got all the way to the back, well, not all the way, up to where we cut. On both sides it's sealed. And then I also mentioned about cutting here on these edges. As you probably saw earlier, I ended up following this line, and I did that so I can install these frame supports or frame reinforcements. And now what I'm going to go and do is cover this entire edge right here with 16 gauge, and then here I'm going to make a plate that goes behind this steering shaft. And I tend to work ahead. I went ahead and seam sealed all the corners, including these bottom parts where I cut out a slice and hammered it close. And so now what you're probably gonna see me do is bust out the undercoat. I'm going to be applying this 3M undercoat all over. I just decided to do that. It's just easier to coat the inside. Nobody's gonna see it anyways. So I'm gonna coat the inside with this 3M seam sealer, and I'll get back to y'all once I do my first coat. I'm gonna do 2 coats on this. Alright, catch you later. Alright guys, as you saw, I just put the second and last coat. I got all over this edge right here, back and behind this heat shielding, behind this side too. If you're going to be following along, I suggest you remove the gas pedal. It was in the way a lot, but I didn't want to go through all that because you have to remove sort of a tension spring right there, the tension spring, and that would be a pain to remove. So I just left it as is, but I got pretty good coverage up and underneath these seams. I'm pretty confident that this is sealed up pretty well. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue to put down these bolts for both sides of the chassis bracing, and also get the front ready to seam seal and apply undercoat to it. I'm gonna do 2 coats up front just like I did back here. It doesn't use too much undercoat. I could probably get everything I needed undercoated, including the chassis braces and both sides of this, done with just 2 cans of the undercoat, and both cans probably combined cost me like 20 bucks. And if you're ever going to get those chassis braces from V8 Roadster, always get them unpainted, untreated, just bare metal. It's better for you to pay those extra 20 bucks to get it painted. Just buy your own undercoat. This 3M undercoat is really good quality anyways. Has really good stuff. So I'd rather get this 3M, 2 cans of this 3M stuff, and then undercoat some other stuff if you need to, and then just get that chassis brace painted by V8 Roadsters. So I'm gonna go ahead, keep whacking down these chassis brace studs, and I'm gonna show you where exactly they need the chassis brace needs to be positioned, because I found it kind of difficult to find some information on YouTube or anywhere else. It wasn't very clear, specific on where you're supposed to put the chassis brace. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you now. Alrighty guys, what you guys missed last night because it was too dark to film, I got both sides of these chassis braces installed. So what I was going to show you guys before it got too dark was where to put them in the first place before you drill your holes. I don't know if you can see there, but up against this crest right here, like this, there's an indent. The corner should go into there of the front outer side of the chassis brace. And then you can see that'll line you up perfectly to come all the way back here, and also with the indent right here. So what you should do is just get a punch, screwdriver or something. You just poke a hole whenever you get this situated. I would get it situated before you paint it, because it can flex a little bit into into space, even though you got a layer of paint on it. So I would put it up here. You can just hit it with your hand, get it up here, and then squish it up the rest of the way with the jack. And then all you have to do is just sort of punch out the middle with a screwdriver or something like that, center punch, and then drill a little hole from the bottom. What I used afterwards was this drill bit right here, a stepper drill bit. This one is perfect. They recommend 3/8, but I took it all the way down to a half. That was just what made it easiest to put the bolt through. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna work on this right here. We're gonna clean these edges up. I'm going to hit these with a wire wheel brush, mainly the threads, or not the threads, mainly the welds. I got this wire wheel brush from Lowe's. This is perfect for sort of whacking on welds because it's meant to abrade on the edge. They sell another one that's a cup. It's meant to get more of a big old flat surface. But instead of that, I'm just going to use a regular brush to hit the big surfaces here, knock off the little rust that it did get from being outside. But right now, as I said, I'm going to work on cutting out some comfort plates right here out of 16 gauge steel. So I'm going to start working on those. I'll get back to y'all when I'm done with that. Alrighty, what you guys missed is I went ahead and put the second plate in. As you can see, I already put seam sealer all over it, all the way down to here, both sides all the way in the back. Highly recommend, if you're gonna do this, put seam sealer. It's a must if you don't want the potential of moisture getting into the car through this area. And that's why I also did it in the inside, as well as undercoat the inside. The rubberized coating is really going to help where you may have missed some little creaks in here. So make sure you get really good coverage whenever you do the undercoating. But I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a sec. It takes only about 30 minutes, and then after that you can go ahead and put the undercoat on it. I'm not too afraid of getting this painted neither. I might just sort of tip it out the way like this a little bit. It should be fine. But yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and wait. Might start hooking some stuff up inside, reconstructing some things. Nothing big though, nothing major, just probably putting in the air conditioning system. And then after I paint it, I'll go ahead and put the brake booster back in. And then I'll see if I can start fitting up the engine. for a good old test fit for the motor mounts. So that's gonna be the next episode. I'm gonna go ahead and leave y'all off on this note, because the next thing is just painting. You'll already see me paint this episode. So yeah, the next episode we're gonna be putting on these motor mounts, and then on both sides, I think this is the right one. I got the other one in here. So I'm gonna put these into the engine, and then we're gonna test fit it, hook up our transmission to it, and see if we can get that 2 degrees of backwards pinion angle on the engine. But yeah, that's gonna be it, folks. I can catch y'all guys tomorrow. Peace.
Pull up in the gold, I'm leading. But them other man need feeding. I don't wanna go Bombay. Them I don't know what I do when I go from Beeling. Leading the pack in black and I'm on with the bat. Snapping with a phone and dab. Boss up a man with a duster. Put him in the drip and sip blockbuster. Win, 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 that's the only ammo. Ring, 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 I reply with NO.